Pitino in the Oval Office. That pass will give those with tickets to the games priority visa appointments at embassies.
The U.S. will be hosting matchups in next year's World Cup in cities such as Los Angeles and New York. News Talk 98.9 WORD News time is 3:04.
Now, News Talk 98.9
WORD Business News.
The just announced $15 million expansion of an upstate equipment manufacturer is a literal measure of success. Founded in 1951, Horton Incorporated has become a leading supplier of cooling solutions for a broad spectrum of applications, from high-voltage electrical systems to massively powerful mining equipment. The company established its Oconee County operation 5 years ago, one of 15 serving clients in 70 countries, and it's already expanding to a new 100,000 square foot facility in Westminster. The move will double Horton's production capacity for equipment from fist-sized turbine components to cooling fans the size of airplane propellers. Horton's management credits its Oconee County workforce for the progress and invites anyone interested in joining them to visit their career webpage at hortonww.com. I'm Chris Lee. That's your News Talk 98.9 WORD Business News.
Now the Carolinas' most trusted forecast from the News Talk 98.9 WORD Weather Center. Daytime highs approaching 44 this afternoon under overcast skies, northeast winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overcast and foggy tonight, lows it down to about 39. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki from the News Talk 98.9 WORD Weather Center. Right now, 41.
Download the free Odyssey app, follow News Talk 98.9 WORD, and have news alerts sent to your phone. I'm Matthew Causey with the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Hey, Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk. Charlie, welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
And welcome. Turn my mic on. All right. All right, there we go. Okay. Was having a little trouble with the board last night, and somebody came in and put some buttons in here. So now we are back up and running like we ought to be. Welcome to the program this afternoon. We appreciate it. Thank you very much for tuning in. I don't know if you guys have been on Woodruff Road today, but it is an absolute nightmare out there, and it's just going to get worse the closer we get to Christmas. Going to get even worse than this. So sloggy, nasty Friday afternoon. But hey, we got Christmas coming, and that's a good thing. Well, yesterday, we found out that the FBI had identified the suspect in the pipe bombings in January in Washington, D.C. on January 5th and 6th. Now, this was information, because Pam Bondi made sure to point this out. This was information that the FBI already had. There were no new tips, no new leads, no phone calls coming in, no new forensic evidence. They just went back and looked at the evidence that Christopher Wray already had. We're talking about cell phone data. We're talking about credit card purchases. We're talking about cell phone pinging and things like that. I mean, they were able to go in and do all this and find this guy, Brian Cole Jr. And last night over on CNN, we had Jake Tapper tell us all about this young man.
Capitol attack. Brian Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white man from the D.C. suburbs, is charged.
Wait. Hold on, Jake Tapper. I got to hear that again.
Capitol attack.
Yeah.
Brian Cole Jr.,
right?
A 30-year-old white man from the D.C.
I'm sorry, you could repeat that?
A 30-year-old white man from...
One more time, Jake. I didn't hear you.
A 30-year-old white man...
Okay, yeah. 30-year-old white man. So, now granted, I did not get an ethnic studies degree in college. Now, granted, I may completely missing the boat here, but just in almost 62 years of experience on this planet, I can say with a pretty high degree of certainty that Brian Cole Jr. ain't a white guy. All right. So I don't know what Jake Tapper was thinking last night. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was intentional. Maybe it just, well, yeah, you know, it was intentional, right? Everybody knew who the guy was. They'd all seen the pictures of him, but that's because he threw it out there. 30-year-old white guy. Muddying the waters there. So now we're hearing that, because he appeared in court today and he's been, interviewed and talked to by the FBI for hours upon hours yesterday and today. And now they're coming out and they are claiming, are you ready for this? I want you to listen to what they are claiming right now. Here is Evan Perez over on CNN. Here we go.
FBI, Dan Bongino, who's really has been a big force for trying to solve this case, he said on Fox News last night that they had interviewed the suspect, the young man who'd been arrested on this case, at length over the last 24 hours. And what we've learned is that among the statements that he has made is that he believed the 2020 election was stolen. And so,
okay, now what that made it sound like, this is another tactic of CNN. All right, Dan Bongino made statements yesterday about how many hours that he had been investigating, and we have learned, he made it sound like they learned this from Dan Bongino, but that's not the case. That is not the case. They are saying that this guy, Brian Cole Jr., was upset over the 2020 elections. That never came from Bongino. That came from unnamed sources. So they're kind of in a slick way trying to contribute that to Dan Bongino when it didn't happen. But then we got to go look at this. We got to go look at this because part of the evidence that they used to get this guy was credit card statements. Credit card statements where he went and he bought the bomb making materials. So what you are telling me, Evan Perez on CNN, is that Brian Cole Jr. was so upset over the 2020 election that he looked up old Doc Brown, got in Doc Brown's DeLorean, hit 88 miles an hour, and went back in time and bought bomb-making materials in 2019? Is that what that's what you're actually telling me? That's what this guy... Listen, you are going to hear lie after lie and speculation after speculation on all of this stuff. But the weird thing that you're going to hear, and I'm making this prediction right now at 3:12 in the afternoon on December the 5th of 2025, here is my prediction. The Democrats are going to try to say that Brian Cole Jr. is covered by the January 6th pardons. You watch, they're going to do it. They're absolutely going to do that. Oh, well, he's pardoned. Trump pardoned him. Can't send this kid to jail. He pardoned him. He was there in Washington. Everybody in Washington, D.C. is, man, wouldn't you like, I would like to be able to do that, right? Just be covered under any pardon that comes down the pipe. They're going to try to do that. They're going to try to say that this guy is covered by the pardons. You watch and see. Watch and see if that doesn't come true. All right, WORD talk line is also the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line, 800-9050-989. Charlie Tapper is colorblind. Isn't he, though? I'm Jay Tapper. I don't see color. Charlie, maybe he was identifying as a 30-year-old white guy. Now, that could be. That could be. Charlie, maybe on the woke world, Brian may consider himself to be a white man. Yeah, I know. I understand. I mean, so basically what they're saying is they arrested Urkel, right? They arrested Steve Urkel on this thing. But you listen, be careful who you listen to on this. Be careful of who your sources are. and in a lot of cases, just use your good common sense. I mean, when we've got people over there, and the number, remember, they were the ones over on the left that were screaming that the FBI had not pointed out who the bomber was because they were white. They were the ones screaming about it. Well, they haven't found this bomber because he's white. Then what does Jake Tapper do? Comes along and claims the guy is white. When we get back, a couple of good pieces of good news for the RNC, especially where the midterms are concerned. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Eyewitnesses want it when you see news. Email news@989WORD.com.
Hey, everybody, it's Charlie James for my friends at Select Restaurant. Oh, my goodness. It's the holiday season. Christmas is upon us. The new year is almost here. It is a great time to get all your friends and family together and go to Select Restaurant. Have a wonderful outing. You see, Select Restaurant does one thing really, really well, and that's they make special occasions even more special. In fact, they make every day a special occasion, especially here in the holiday season. Go by and see my friends at Select Restaurant. It doesn't matter if you go for brunch, lunch, or dinner. And what a great thing to do is to get everybody together for a good midweek brunch. They serve it from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. They've got amazing omelets, crepes, and waffles, including their amazing hand-breaded chicken and waffle combination, melt-in-your-mouth pancakes, thick French toast, crepe Wellington. It is absolutely wonderful. You're going to love brunch at Select Restaurant. But like I said, it doesn't matter if you go for brunch, lunch, or dinner. Everything about Select Restaurant totals up to one of the most amazing
Charlie Speaks. You listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Hi, welcome back to the program. Joe Biden has just got himself a big old $10 million book deal for his presidential memoir. What do you think it ought to be called? What do you think his book ought to be called? I think it ought to be called, Come On, Man. Come on, man. And the very first sentence in that book should be this.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to excuse me.
Yeah.
America is a nation.
That should be the very first sentence in there. Come on, man. That's what it ought to be. Come on, man. So, yeah, and anything that he said during the debate. Well, things are looking pretty good right now for the Republicans. I say that with a little bit of a caveat because I'm still worried about the midterms. But the Supreme Court has upheld the Texas redistricting plan. This will give Texas 5 more Republican seats, and they will be able to use this map during the midterm elections. So that would erase everything that California was doing under Gavin Newsom. And ironically, Texas had the constitutional authority to do it, where California did not. So, but this is even more important because you know what it does, right? It makes it where Jasmine Crockett is no longer going to be in Congress because it swallows up her district. So we can say goodbye to Jasmine Crockett, right? That's always a good thing. And hello to plus 5 Republican seats. Meanwhile, the Republican-controlled Florida House has just held a meeting to redistrict. That could be another 5 seats if they go along with that. Indiana redistricting has just passed the House. That could be 2 additional seats. So that's 12 additional seats so far that the GOP should pick up. And the big question is, why aren't we doing it here in South Carolina? We've had Ralph Norman calling for this thing for months now, calling for the governor to call the House and the Senate back in and get this redistricting done. That could give Republicans another seat. Get rid of Jim Clyburn's district. Adios. That's what they should do. But will they? Will the governor of South Carolina, Henry McMaster, do it? No. I really don't think he will. I really don't think he will. Unless it has something to do with electric vehicles or some other form of business that's just going to take a ton of taxpayer money. Or there's some sort of a natural disaster. Our governor is practically invisible. The guy never holds a press conference. He never calls into talk radio. He never gives an interview unless it's the Associated Press, and then, they've got his direct line. So, I don't know. But we need to do that. That could give us 13 additional seats in the House, and that would be a great thing. Let's go to Henry in Florence. Wants to talk about the pipe bomber. Henry, how are you?
Hi, I heard that pipe bomber thought that Trump won the election and it was stolen. What kind of moron would actually believe such a thing? What a complete idiot that guy must be, right, Charlie?
No, I'm sorry. What did you say? So what you're telling me, Mr. Calling Guy, is that this guy jumped in his DeLorean, went back to 2019, bought all the bomb-making materials because he thought the election was going to be stolen in 2020? Is that exactly what you're saying?
What kind of idiot would think that the 2020 election was stolen?
Oh, my goodness. This guy, he is something. Yeah. Oh, hey, you know what I think? I think the election was stolen. So therefore, I'm going to go back in time and buy bomb-making materials
and put it out. The election hadn't even been certified yet. There you go. That's perfect. Well, I'll tell you what, well, God bless you. We shouldn't look down on the mentally challenged. We really shouldn't, but we do, and we enjoy it. All right, the WRD talk line to everybody but the calling guy is 800-9050-989. That's also the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line. You can always get involved in the program. But again, why aren't we? It is so frustrating to be here in South Carolina in a state that is supposed to be as red as my sweater this afternoon, and to have a governor and a state legislature that is purple at best. They really are. But we've got to do something about that. Just about everybody is up for re-election coming up next year. You guys have got, listen, if I were to wake up the day after the primaries and I found out that 90% of the incumbents in Columbia, South Carolina had been defeated in the primaries, you would not see a happier man on the planet than me. I would be absolutely ecstatic. Half of these people are crooks. The other half is on the take. The other type is just, here we've got a state legislature that doesn't even read the bills that they vote on. And I remember the famous exchange with Sarita Edgerton where, well, ma'am, you'll find out that we don't read a lot of these bills. Like that was a thing to be proud of. I can't remember if it was Mike Kakaski or I think it was Davey Hyatt. One of those two said that. We don't read the bill. Like that was some sort of a badge of honor. Leadership proposes the bills in Columbia, and everybody's just expected to go along with it. We've got leadership in Columbia, South Carolina that appoints Democrats to subcommittee chairmanships when there's no need for it. There was no need to. We've got these guys that appoint a Dr. Fauci Jr. and Ed Simmer, a guy that, the CDC has never done anything wrong in his eyes. They appoint him to head up our health department in South Carolina. You get those people out of office, you will literally overnight turn this state around. We will stop giving away all of this money to corporate interests. We'll start actually doing things for the people that are invested in this state, and that is the citizens of this state. That's something you are literally, if you were to look at the totem pole of people that they answer to in Columbia, you would not be on the bottom of that totem pole. You would be the little piece of wood underneath the totem pole that holds it up. They don't care about your opinion. They care about lobbyists. They care about special interests. They care about their own interests. And you are the last people on their mind when they go to work every single day. The last thing they think about is you. Of course, the first thing they think about is their wallet. When we get back, the Supreme Court is going to hear a very big case, and Governor Ron DeSantis says what I've been saying for a while now. Maybe now people will listen. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
While others talk rough, Charlie stays smooth, like a perfect putting green.
News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Let your fingers do the talking.
Text the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line at 800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Did you notice how quickly, and I mean blazing speed, all the folks on the left stopped talking about the Epstein files? Even the calling guy doesn't talk about the Epstein files anymore. We got to look at the Epstein files. Hey, we got to get the Epstein files. We got to get the Epstein files. Release those Epstein files. You got to release those Epstein files. So they released the Epstein files. And here's what we found out. We found out that Hakeem Jeffries, his campaign, was soliciting Jeffrey Epstein for donations after he had been released from prison. Then we found out that Stacey Plaskett was actually texting with Jeffrey Epstein during the Michael Cohen hearing. Then we found out that George Stephanopoulos and Katie Couric had dinner at Jeffrey Epstein's house after he was released from prison, and Stacey and Katie Couric tried to deny she even knew who he was. Yeah, right, whatever. But they were all screaming about it. And they were like, release the grand jury documents. That's what the Democrats were saying. Release the grand jury documents. Well, Judge Richard Berman, who was appointed by Clinton, said no. Judge Paul Engelmeyer, who was appointed by Obama, said no. Judge Robin Rosenberg, appointed by Obama, said no. However, Judge Rodney Smith, appointed by Donald Trump, has said yes. Rodney Smith down in Florida has ordered the release of material from grand jury investigations into sex offender Jeffrey Epstein from 2005 to 2007. Again, a similar bid was rejected earlier this year by U.S. District Judge Rodney Smith. But Judge Rodney Smith said he was granting the Justice Department's renewed request in light of the bill that Congress passed last month requiring the DOJ to release all of its records related to Epstein. The newly passed Epstein Files Transparency Act calls for the release of unclassified records, documents, communications, and investigative materials that relate to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and the specific language of the law overrides the traditional secrecy of grand jury materials, he wrote. It is unclear when the materials will become public. In its motion asking for the materials to be released, the Justice Department said it would work with the relevant United States attorney's offices to make appropriate redactions of victim-related and other personal identifying information. The grand jury investigation was conducted in West Palm Beach near Epstein's home. Federal prosecutors were investigating whether the financier was preying on scores of underage girls in his mansion. Now remember, even Katie Couric said that when she went to dinner with Jeffrey Epstein, she was amazed at how young the young girl that took her coat was. But she had dinner there anyway, right? So it's unclear how much of the material in 2005 and 2007 investigations will be new. The materials were available to federal prosecutors in New York who charged Epstein with sex trafficking in 2019, and much of the underlying material is believed to have emerged in the years as a result of civil suits brought by Epstein's victims. This is from NBC News. Those cases included a suit against the Justice Department for having failed to notify them of its non-prosecution deal. The government has similar motions pending in New York relating to the 2019 charges against Epstein and the 2020 charges against Maxwell, his accomplice. Maxwell was convicted of federal sex trafficking charges and is serving a 20-year prison term. And what everybody wants to know is, if she was trafficking young girls, who was she trafficking to? Or should I say, to whom was she trafficking? Because none of those people have been arrested. I think this was one of those things, and once again, I mean, I believe Trump is pretty much a master at all of this. He sets a trap for these Democrats, and they fall right into it. They fall into all of these traps. When you look at, what happened in Washington, D.C., when they were like, crime is down. Yeah, murder's up, but crime is down. Well, they walked right into a trap of defending the undefensible or the indefensible. And they've also done that with Luigi Mangione. They did that with the Maryland dad. They did that with all of these people. And they're going to try to do it with Brian Cole Jr., the J6 bomber, as he's being called. So we'll see what happens with this. We'll see if all of the hand-wringing and pearl-clutching by the folks on the left actually pays off, because I don't believe it's going to. I don't believe it's going to. Charlie, book Biden's BS. That'd be a good name, Biden's BS. That would be great. It should be called. Joe Biden just inked a $10 million deal for his presidential memoirs. I'm asking people what they think the title ought to be. Let's see. We could have what laptop? We could have that. My favorite is Come On, Man. That would be a good one. So there you go. Charlie, how about Diary of a Wimpy President for a book title? I think that would be fantastic. Anything like that. But here's my question. Do you really think that anybody out there is going to want to read a book by Joe Biden? First of all, he's not going to write it. It's going to be ghostwritten. You know that's just the thing. I mean, what detail is he going to go into? Is it just going to be another corn pop dialogue that he has? Where he was... Charlie Biden book, Dog-Faced Pony Soldiers. That would be a good one. Oh, No Malarkey. That would be a good one. That would be a good one. Yeah. So, interesting. Charlie, you know that let's see, you know Jill's writing that crap 100%. I don't even think Jill's writing it. I think they're hiring a professional to do that. Yeah, Jill doesn't have time for all that stuff. It's going to be horrible. But here's what's going to happen. And like I always say, there are two really great ways to launder money. Number one, the art world. Look at Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden literally dips straws in a paint and blows it around a canvas and calls it art. And all of a sudden, people are paying more for that than a Warhol? They're not buying the art. They're buying access, or at least they were at the time. Have you noticed he's not been selling any art lately? So then another great way to launder money is books. Because what's going to happen is the DNC, who is already unbelievably in debt. I mean, they just had to take out a $15 million loan at the DNC. And that doesn't even cover what they're in debt. The DNC are going to be the ones buying this book. It's not going to be the average American going into Barnes & Noble or going to Amazon and purchasing this book. It's going to be these Democrat clubs, these Democrat organizations that are all going to buy these books as a way to pay Joe Biden back for his service. Same thing with Kamala Harris's book. That's why they all write them. Listen, we would love to give you money to say thank you, but we just can't. So here's what you do. You write a BS book, and then we'll buy them all, and it'll be good for you. Charlie, let's see. Diary of the Puppet President. That's a good one. Biden, How I Got One Over on America. Yeah, you're exactly right. Exactly right. Oh, somebody should call it. It should be titled The Big Guy. I like that one. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Get breaking news sent straight to your phone for free. Download the Odyssey app. Follow News Talk 98.9 WORD. Stay in the know with the voice of the Carolinas. One number does it all.
800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
One of the most ridiculous policies, laws, whatever you want to call it, here in the United States is the fact that somebody can come here on vacation. A pregnant woman can come here on vacation, go into labor on United States soil, have the baby, and that baby automatically becomes an American citizen. That is ludicrous. Now, granted, that scenario doesn't happen all that often. But there is another scenario that happens more often than you would think, and that is illegal aliens crossing our border just to have a baby on American soil. In fact, there was what was it called? Birth tourism. There was actually an industry, the birth tourism industry. Well, people go, "Are you having a baby? Have the baby in the United States of America. It will be a citizen." Then they would come here, have the baby. Baby's a citizen. Well, mom and dad got to stay with the baby. So the baby is an anchor, literally, to bring the whole family over. Everybody. Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, cousins galore. Pretty soon you've got all of these people here just because of that one child. And that is absolutely ridiculous. It truly is. Should have never been implemented. Ever. Well, the Supreme Court has now agreed to take this case up because President Trump wants to do away with birthright citizenship, and I support him on that 100% because it makes no sense whatsoever. Let's listen to what CNN says about this.
Joan. Supreme Court just this minute, Brianna, announced it's going to take up a challenge to President Trump's order lifting birthright citizenship. You might remember on January 20th, his first day in office, he took his Sharpie pen and he said, "This is a big one." And what he did was he tried to eliminate the automatic birthright citizenship that all Americans have had for more than a century. And what that does, it goes to the 14th Amendment of the Constitution that says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. That means that anyone who's born here, Brianna, automatically becomes a U.S. citizen. And what Donald Trump's executive order tried to do was say anyone who was born of someone who was not here lawfully or who was here on some sort of temporary status, that person's baby would not automatically be a citizen. It's a very, it's probably of all the Trump actions that have been taken to date.
So the 14th Amendment had to do with the children of slaves. That's all it was about. So after the Civil War, they were like, all right, we got all these slaves in America. They've had children. Are those children citizens? And it was one of those things that we did in our Constitution that said, hey, all right, you know, they're citizens. It did not have anything to do and was not meant to have anything to do with illegal aliens. And that has been documented time and time again. I'm going to take a little time here coming up in just a second, and I'm going to bring to you some of those rulings and some of those things that we had from, I don't know, things like the Federalist Papers and things like that, that actually talk about this stuff. But there was actually a ruling that it was never meant to be applied to illegal aliens or even legal aliens coming to this country, period. So if you get, like I said, if you come over here on vacation and you've got your little visa and you have a baby, your child is automatically a naturalized American citizen. No, it was never meant to have anything to do with that. But you see, that's what the Democrats will do. Now, let me tell you what would happen if all of these people that were coming here, and I'll give you a great example. Remember when President Trump brought those refugees, legitimate refugees over from South Africa? And everybody was screaming about it? because they knew one thing. The left knew one thing. Those people, if they got citizenship, they were going to vote Republican. They knew that. And they also know that all of these people that are coming here with the whole Anchor Baby program, they know that if you gave them amnesty, if you made them American citizens without going through the legal process, they were going to vote for Democrats. And it gets even worse than that because it doesn't really have a whole lot to do, and hang with me here, doesn't have a whole lot to do with them voting. They don't have to be able to vote to be beneficial to the Democrats. All they have to do is exist. And since our census counts everybody, doesn't matter if you're legal or illegal, it counts everybody. It shouldn't, but it does. That's another thing President Trump's trying to get fixed. We should only be counting American citizens. If that happened, if we were to get rid of that process of counting all American citizens, the Democrats would have very few seats in Congress, and they know it. So they import that. That's why they were so hell-bent on opening our borders and having everybody cross over. Because they were flooding into these areas, and all of a sudden their numbers were growing in the census, and hey, they were adding seats to Congress. That is it. They just want to use these people, just like they use everybody else, just like they use African Americans, just like they use Asians, just like they use any person of color out there whatsoever. They use it for their own benefit. They don't really care about the people. They care about what service they provide. And that service is districting and ultimately votes. That's really what they want. So hopefully the Supreme Court will rule appropriately that birthright citizenship was never meant for anyone other than the children of slaves in this country. Fingers crossed, but the way some of these people vote on the Supreme Court, you always have to wonder, don't you? All right. WORD Talk Line, 800-9050-989. When we get back, Governor Ron DeSantis is saying what I've been saying for probably a month now. Is the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
He's got a mic, a mission, and no time for nonsense. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Hey, Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk.
Charlie.
Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9.
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
America is back.
And we are back on a Friday afternoon. Let's go to the WRD talk line. We'll talk to Doug in Simpsonville. Doug, welcome.
Hey, Charlie, good to talk to you.
Hey, Doug.
again.
What's going on,
I
man?
am so pumped up by the Supreme Court taking on this birthright citizenship. I became aware of this. Well, my parents moved to El Paso in '64. I was 10 years old. And it was a thing on the border back then, a fairly big thing. Everybody knew about it.
Yeah.
And it was pretty easy for people to come over from Juarez, go to a hospital in El Paso, and boom, they've got what we've come to know as an anchor baby.
Exactly.
And but in those days, it was kind of only in the border region. So most people in the U.S. were oblivious. Most people generally were oblivious.
Yeah.
So maybe 2 decades ago, I was reading some stuff, and it was about the hospital in Dallas, where I lived after that in the 1980s during the Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
I was working in the defense industry at the time, and they were talking about how this had become a big thing, and I forget the name of the hospital, but it was the hospital where Kennedy was taken in Dallas after he was shot. Now, this
Right.
is like, this is way, way, way far across the border, away from the border. And that was back then. So it's just absolutely out of control. I'm so thankful for Donald Trump for actually pushing this.
Yeah.
We've had one rhino after another that has done nothing, including our most infamous senator. And, we can maybe talk about how good either one of them is. But anyway, I have a lot of disagreements with Trump, especially on foreign policy, and I part companies with you and Tara and other people. But when it comes to things like this, thank God.
There you go.
Thank God Trump is pushing it.
All right, Doug, I appreciate it, but it was never meant to be. And somebody on the text line called me ugly and unchristian. Charlie, you are ugly and unchristian. Oh, well, then you got to go back and say the same thing about Senator Howard from Michigan. When they were debating the 14th Amendment, when Senator Howard said, this will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens, who belong to the families of ambassadors or foreign ministers accredited to the government of the United States, but will include every other class of person. It settles the great question of citizenship and removes all doubt as to what persons are or are not citizens of the United States. Let me read that first part again. This will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens, or who belong to families of ambassadors. So, in other words, if you're an ambassador to France and your daughter or daughter-in-law comes over and has a baby, no, I'm sorry, that baby's not an American citizen. According to Senator Howard during the debate on that. But getting back to what the last caller was talking about doing nothing in Congress, I want you to listen to what Governor DeSantis said on Fox News this morning.
What should be the bullet points? I think it's economy, immigration. Like, we don't talk about immigration as much as we were maybe when Biden was letting it in. The border is secure. We've stopped the influx. He's now working on a moratorium of new people coming in, particularly from some of these countries where the people are hostile. That's a huge victory for people. They need to be talking about that and go even bolder on that. I just think you got to be bold. I think you got to be strong. And I think one of the frustrations with the Congress is, what have they done since August till now? They really haven't done anything, right?
No.
And it's like, if I were, I'd be like every day coming out with something new and make the Democrats go on the record, show the contrast. Think about why we've been able to win big in Florida is because there's a very sharp contrast to what we're doing and what these, what the liberal Democrats stand for. Parents' rights, illegal immigration, anything you can think of. Most voters knew we were on their side, and I think you got to really make that sharp. But I would tell you, the Democrats, they caused a lot of this with the inflation, and now they're acting like it was like they had nothing to do with it.
And he's exactly right. What have we seen from Congress? Absolutely nothing. Now, we know over in the House, they have passed a bunch of bills, but those bills are just sitting in the Senate. Listen to what President Trump said about that.
Here's some of the things that we passed if we terminated the filibuster. Voter ID, no mail-in voting, no cash bail, no men and women's sports, no welfare for illegals. You could go on and on. This is 2 pages of things we'd do if you did that. Without it, I don't know that you passed anything because you can't deal with them. They're really irrational. They really are. But I was happy to see that a tremendous liability to this country, a woman that made herself rich in this country, Nancy Pelosi, has quit. And she'll be out of here pretty soon. And I consider that to be a great asset for America.
Absolutely. But look at all of those things that we could do if they got rid of the filibuster. Until you get rid of the filibuster, President Trump is a lame duck president for the next 3 years. 3 years. And to go back to what Ron DeSantis was talking about, what are the Republicans going to be running on in the midterms? What is the story they're going to be able to tell? Because looking at it from this side of the microphone, I don't see a story. I don't see where they've done anything. Is it by design? Well, a lot of people think so. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
This is the Charlie James Show. The right talk. Now more than ever on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas. Charlie Speaks. You listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
I still can't believe there are people out there that don't understand the benefits of doing away with the filibuster. And I hear the same argument. Charlie, once the Democrats get back in power, they're going to do blah, blah, blah. They're going to do it anyway. It's going to be like day one. It'll be the first thing they do is do away with the filibuster, because that only takes 51 votes. That's all that takes, and that'll be the first thing they do. And you know it. And quit acting like you've never met the Democrats. Have it? You know you've met them. You know how they act. You know how they play the game. So meanwhile, as long as the filibuster is in place, nothing gets done in this country with Trump's initiatives. Nothing. As long as you've got to have 60 votes in the Senate to pass legislation or to end cloture and vote on something, well, or to enact cloture, rather, then nothing gets done. And if nothing gets done, I'll say it again, what do the Republicans have to run on in the midterm elections? You are literally buying into a self-fulfilling prophecy. Nothing gets done in Washington. The Republicans have nothing to run on. What are their ads going to say? Hey, this year in Washington, we did this. We did this stuff, and you ought to vote for us again. They've got no story to tell. They can't claim anything. As long as that filibuster is in place, Donald Trump, I'll say it again for the millionth time, Donald Trump will be a lame duck president for the next 3 years. And the only things that will get done will be done through executive order. And guess what the Democrats are going to do to those things? Day one as well. Charlie, if we get rid of the filibuster, how hard is it to get the filibuster reinstated down the road? It's not hard. All you need, like I said, 51 votes, and it's done. But I wouldn't. But even if you did away with the filibuster and then in the last minute reenacted the filibuster, when the Democrats get in power, they're just going to do away with it again. It'll be gone. And if you don't get rid of the filibuster, let me tell you what's going to happen. You don't have to worry about the filibuster ever again in your life. You may never hear the word filibuster ever again in your life. Because the Democrats are going to be in control, and I hate to say this, but they will be in control for a long, long time. Long time. If you do away with the filibuster, there's a chance that we win the midterm elections because of all this redistricting that's going on. There's a chance that J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, whoever runs in 2018 or 2028, that they win. And that'll be another 8 years. So, Charlie, will it not be the same as executive orders because they're going to make it go away? Yeah, exactly. Let's go to Chuck in Mills River. Chuck, welcome.
Hey, man, I got a question for you, more of a supposition. They were saying that the bombing suspect, the pipe bomb suspect, I was reading Fox earlier today, it was saying that he was upset about Trump losing. I find that a highly suspect storyline, man, because if for 4 years the Biden administration been sitting on this, if what we're being told is true.
No, it's not.
I get it. I get it. But that's going to be my argument against anybody that says, "Oh, see, he was a Trumpster." I'm like, well, no. If they had everything they needed, it's like the Epstein thing. If they had anything on him, they'd have gone after him. This is beginning to get to be a repeated storyline.
They didn't go after him because he didn't fit the narrative of what a J6er ought to look like.
That I agree with that entirely, but I think there's a little more here than meets the eye. But like I say, if they were going to go after him, after Trump, they would have done it on those four. It just
well, look at
this,
this,
I think
Chuck.
we're in a world of hurt, man. And I'm
Look
sorry
at
it's before
this.
6 o'clock.
Now look at this. What did they say about? I mean, the first thing out of their mouths, the day that Charlie Kirk got shot, what did they say?
Oh yeah, it was a Trumpster. Oh
Yeah,
it was,
that was a Trumpster.
they
Absolutely,
try to
Trump
pin-
supporter.
That's what I'm.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Is their narrative
Right. Never does.
ever changes, and this is something that should be looked at. I mean, this is number one. I kind of wonder, and maybe this is what their end goal is to make people like me think, well, this doesn't seem right, and that's the FBI for you. And I'm not saying the guy didn't do it. It seems like he did, but. And, Jake Tapper throwing out there that he was a white guy,
Yeah.
things like that. But I'm just saying that that's their new narrative. They're trying to put everything off on Trump and make the Trump supporters,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, exactly right.
And I think that you had a really good point earlier, and I'll let you carry on with your point. I got to go build a big block 454 with a friend of mine. So
cool.
that's why I'm calling. That's why I'm calling early. No, it's not cool. It's gonna be hot, buddy.
Yeah, I'll
It's
bet.
gonna be hot, like a stolen pistol.
All right, man. I appreciate
anyway, man,
it.
I hope you have a great weekend, and
Yeah,
we'll be
you too.
listening to you while we work on the car.
Well, I appreciate it, Chuck. Thank you. Hey, Charlie, was the filibuster passed within the terms of the U.S. Constitution? Funny you asked that. No, it's not. It was not. It's not in the Constitution. It's not in the Constitution. In fact, the reason we have the filibuster is because there was no rule about it. It's a fairly new thing. I mean, when you look at the history of this country, it's not in the Constitution. It's a rule passed by Congress for unlimited debate. Unlimited debate. Now, it used to be a filibuster, you would have to get up there and talk the whole time. And and I didn't know this, but do you know who has the record for the longest filibuster, constant speaking on the Senate floor? Do you know who has the record for that? I'll give you a little hint. It's not Strom Thurmond. Strom Thurmond held the record for a long time. The actual record is Cory Booker. Cory Booker's got the record for that. But this isn't anything. We don't need a constitutional amendment to do away with the filibuster. All we need is 50 votes in the Senate, and it goes away. Just like it's going to go away the first day the Democrats get in power in the Senate. Minute one. That'll be the first thing, whoever the Senate majority leader is for the Democrats, it's going to be the first thing they do. Well, the first thing they'll do is elect the Senate minority leader or majority leader, and then they will come in and they'll do away with the filibuster. Then they'll pack the Supreme Court. They will do all of those things. Now, somebody asked the question, couldn't they have done it last time? Well, they could have, except for two people. You had Kyrsten Sinema, and you had Joe Manchin. Those were, because they tried to do away with the filibuster. But Sinema and Manchin were the only two Democrats that said no. Well, they're not in the Senate anymore. And you've got a bunch of radicals in there that will be more than happy to go along with doing away with it. When we get back, we'll talk a little bit about the changing narrative of the boat strikes. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of breaking news and stimulating talk begins every hour, every afternoon on The Charlie James Show.
News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas. Then type your message on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line.
800-905-0989. This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Have you noticed how quickly the Democrats bring up a subject and they're screaming about it, and the veins in their necks and their foreheads are bulging, they're just spitting and they're bleeding from the eyes, and then all of a sudden it goes away? Epstein files, oh, we got over there, the Epstein files, Epstein files, Epstein files. And then that's crickets after that. Nothing. Because he found out that, like I've told you before, Hakeem Jeffries was soliciting donations from Epstein. Stacey Plaskett was taking direct text messages from Epstein during the Michael Cohen hearing. George Stephanopoulos, Katie Couric had dinner with Jeffrey Epstein. Then all of a sudden they get real quiet about it. They don't want to talk about it anymore. I want to talk about it. Nope, that's it. I don't want to talk about it. Well, then we had all of this about the drug boats, right? Oh, yeah, well, the drug boats. And they murdered two men who were clinging to a raft, and they murdered them. And then Martha Raddatz came out with this story over on ABC.
And tonight, new information. According to a source familiar with the incident, the two survivors climbed back onto the boat after the initial strike. They were believed to be potentially in communication with others and salvaging some of the drugs. Because of that, it was determined they were still in the fight and valid targets. A JAG officer was also giving legal advice. So again,
yeah. So a JAG officer was right there giving legal advice. So it was all on the up and up, and they were like, oh. Well, Elisa Slotkin, she's kind of changing her tune a little bit.
There's a standard of just, again, showing your math. This is how we came to this list that's just not being met. So, again, I don't think the principles of the operations, a lot of us would be open to those. It's the way they've gone about it that's completely ham-handed.
Oh, okay. Let me interpret that for you, if I might. She agrees with the operation now that she's seen the video and seen all of the evidence. She just doesn't like the fact that Donald Trump did it. She doesn't like the fact that we have had a drug problem. Well, I don't know. Maybe she does. I don't know. Man, speaking for her. But we've had a drug problem in this country for a long time. And everybody's been talking about the war on drugs, and we got to do something about the war on drugs. I don't know if you guys remember this, but even Joe Biden, back when he was in the Senate, was calling on the president to do something militarily about the drug trafficking into this country. He was, you got to do something. You got to use the military. You got to hit them where they live, he said. Hit them where they live. He did a televised message on that. Let's take a little bit of a listen here to what Joe Robinette Biden said.
Every president for the past 2 decades, Democrat and Republican alike, has declared war on drugs. And each of them has lost that war and lost it miserably. They lost because they attempted to deal with only part of the drug problem. They lost because their initiatives were pulled apart by bureaucratic squabbling among their advisors. They lost because they always did too little and they did it too late. We don't oppose the president's plan. All we want to do is strengthen it. We don't doubt his resolve. All we want to do is stiffen it. The trouble is that the president's proposals are not big enough to deal with the problem.
What should we do,
We think
Joe?
we should do more to stem the flow of drugs across our borders.
Like what?
And we think we should go one step further.
Okay.
Let's go after the drug lords where they live.
Oh, my goodness. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? The difference between 1989 Joe Biden and today's Joe Biden. You see, when people do that, when people say, well, Charlie, Bush worked with the Democrats, and I think, no, you can't. No, the Democrats are completely different people now. This Democrat Party that you knew back in 1989 and before that, no similarities whatsoever. They are no longer Democrats that you can find common ground with. That's when I say we got to do away with the filibuster, because that was meant to spark debate. There's no debating with these people anymore. You just can't do it. We just had the longest shutdown in American history. So, There you go. Let's go to Big G in Greenville and talk about those boats. Big G, what's going on, man?
Well, I just buried a high school friend from fentanyl the past few days. I just got back to North Carolina. But I'm going to put a human touch on this. This girl, we went to high school with her. We were all gathered there. Some of us haven't seen each other in years. But she was taking care of her dad. She's a regular good kid. I guess she got a hold of one of these fake pills that look like pharmaceutical, have fentanyl in it. She had 2 sort of adult children. This is the kind of people that have gotten, lulled into this stuff. It looks like regular pharmaceuticals. They might have been on a prescription of them in the past or whatever the reason is.
Yeah.
But I saw these people kneeling in front of this casket, holding on to the side of that casket. And I'm going to tell you something. These people, you go try to rescue them, they know they're going to jail all their life, they could take a shot at any one of these rescuers. They're not going to go down. They're going to,
you're right.
Probably, you don't know the mentality of these people. And right now, they're terrorists, and that boat's a navigational hazard at that point, and it needs to be sunk.
Yeah, I agree with you, Big G. Appreciate it, buddy. Let's go to Lucas in Piedmont. Lucas, welcome.
Hey, how's it going, Charlie?
It's
Happy
going
Friday.
good, man. Happy Friday. What's up?
A couple of things. Before the break, you were talking about the filibuster, and I'll start with that just because, everybody who's complaining about, we can't get rid of the filibuster, we couldn't do that. I mean, we already know the Democrats' game plan is if and when they seize power again, they're going to do anything and everything to hold power, and that's why these midterms, we need the turnout far heavier than what we've been seeing in these last couple of special elections because there have been seats that should not have gone to the Democrats, and they were so close because low turnout. And, of course, it's giving the false fuel for the fire. The Democrats are saying, look at how horribly Trump lost support in Nashville. And it's like, well, most of the Democrats who voted for Harris came out. Only about half of them came out for Trump in Nashville.
Yeah, you're right.
But then the subject of Biden and the drug trade and all that, I think the one congressperson you're talking about who is like, we don't necessarily disagree with them. I think her stance is just a veiled attempt of, we want more congressional oversight on this. We don't want the president being the only one with information.
We want the one with the power.
And just on my last topic here, with Joe Biden back in '89, that's 40 years ago almost. But then we've got Obama from 2012 who was saying that, we need to, make sure that we curb illegal immigration. Bill Clinton in the 90s when he was saying that, we need to strengthen the border and give
but
more
nobody
money
did
to border security.
None of them did a mumbling thing about it until Donald Trump came along. I appreciate it, Lucas. I want to get to Matthew in Hendersonville. How you doing, Matthew?
Good. How are you, Charlie?
I'm great. What's up, man?
I heard the video you shared about what Biden said. You want to know the truth about that, and a lot of people say, "Well, that's conspiracy," but but it's documented. The truth of why past presidents haven't been able to deal with the drug problem is because most of them have been a part of it.
And all right, in what way?
Well, there's actually, and I can email it to you if you want me to. There's actually documents that show that George H.W. Was actually the one that did the deal of NAFTA between him and the president of Mexico. It was basically a drug trafficking deal between the two families.
So a drug trafficking deal masked as a trade deal, right?
A trade deal, exactly.
Right. Okay,
exactly.
Interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, send me that email. I'd love to see it. I appreciate it. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Not just chatter. Local issues that matter. This is the Charlie James Show
on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Chat with Charlie.
800-905-0989. Save it on your phone.
This is the Charlie James Show, only on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Let's go to the WORD Talk Line and talk to Lou in Campobello. How you doing, Lou?
I'm doing fine, Charlie. How are you?
I'm doing great. What's up, man?
Well, the people, we're targeting these drug runners. We're not targeting the boats. The boat's just a tool, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you truck, boat, car, whatever you're going to bring it in. We're targeting the drug runners and we're targeting the drugs. So when you strike the boat and you blow up the boat, but you don't actually blow up and kill the drug runners, aren't the drug runners who we're targeting in the first place?
I'm kind of lost your train of thought there. So, I mean,
Well, we're not. I mean, people saying we killed the people. We did a second strike on the people that were in the water.
Yeah.
Wasn't the people in the water who we were after for the first strike?
Well, yeah.
I mean, we don't care about the boats. The boat's just a tool.
Yeah.
You're trying to eliminate the drug runners and the drugs.
Right.
Doesn't matter if they're on the boat or in the water.
No.
If those people made it to shore, they're going to get on the next boat. They're going to bring the next load in.
You don't shoot at a tank. You shoot at the people in the tank.
That's right. And you don't, we're not trying to knock out boats. Boats are just a tool that they're using.
Yep,
As
yep,
long
yep,
as they're running drugs, they're fair game.
I agree. I agree 100%, Lou. I appreciate it. I do. Now, remember, it was Chuck Schumer. Oh, my goodness. I got to find this. I think I might have gotten rid of it. But Chuck Schumer actually, let me see if I can find it here real quick, because it was pretty interesting what he signed on to, and I believe it was back. Chuck Schumer voted in favor of the 1986 Maritime Drug Law Enforcement Act. He voted for that. And that says we can go after these boats in international waters. But of course, now he's all against it. Well, that's just the way they are, isn't it? Well, Governor Tim Walz is in a boatload of trouble. Did you see what I did there as a segue? He's in a boatload of trouble in Minnesota. This guy is being looked at now for fraud and when they knew it and what they did about it. Now, they've known about this for a long time, all of this fraud going on in Minnesota. And Tim Walz knew about it, but nobody would say anything about it because they were afraid of being labeled a racist. And that's just a fact. That is an absolute fact. And and we're talking, I think I read today, in Minnesota, we're looking at the possibility of $8 billion. $8 billion with a B. That's a lot of money. And in fact, the state of Minnesota just came out and they have a $3 billion deficit because of all of this corruption and fraud that is going on in Minnesota. So why didn't they do anything about it? Well, it's like I said. They said they were afraid of being labeled racist. I want you to listen to this woman. This is, who is she? Hold on. Wait a minute. Doggone it. Her name is Esther Kraku from the Free Press. Listen to what she says.
The $1 billion welfare fraud scandal in Minnesota was enabled by DEI. Let me explain. Between 2020 and now, federal prosecutors say that more than $1 billion was stolen from Minnesota's social service programs and funneled to fraudulent nonprofits like Feeding Our Future. These organizations claim services for tens of thousands of children who didn't exist. Instead, taxpayer dollars went to funding luxury houses, high-end cars, jewelry, overseas real estate projects, and worst of all, Al-Shabaab, an Islamist terrorist group in Somalia. Now, new reporting shows that the Minnesota Department of Education officials noticed red flags early. They questioned invoices that made no mathematical sense. They noticed new feeding centers were registered in strip malls that were basically empty. They saw providers claiming to serve more meals than there were children living in entire zip codes. And every time they tried to investigate, they were hit with the same accusation. If you expose this, it's racist. That's because Feeding Our Future was run by American citizens of Somali heritage. When the state began scrutinizing their applications, the organization filed a discrimination complaint with the Minnesota Department of Human Rights and later sued the Department of Education, accusing it of racial bias and discrimination. Feeding Our Future weaponized DEI by telling the Minnesota Department of Education that failing to promptly approve new applicants from minority-owned businesses would result in a lawsuit featuring accusations of racism that would be sprawled across the news. In the post-George Floyd climate, that threat carried enormous political power.
Yep, it sure did. So they sat there and let it happen. Sat there and let all of this happen. Well, the chickens have come home to roost now, and we're finding out about all this fraud and how long the Democrats have known about it. Now, Poor Tim Walz is not having a good time, especially since President Trump on Air Force One, I believe it was Air Force One, said there was something wrong with him and called him, president's words here, retarded. That's what the president called Tim Walz, and Tim Walz is very upset about this.
True. This creates danger. And I'll tell you what, in my time on this, I'd never seen this before. People driving by my house and using the R word in front of people. This is shameful. And I have yet to see an elected official, a Republican elected official, say, you're right, that's shameful.
Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. Weren't you the guy that got on stage and wished for Donald Trump's death? What? I do remember that being you, Tim Walz. You never called that shameful. Wasn't this the same guy that has called Trump a Nazi and a fascist and an authoritarian and all of these other words? But I don't remember you saying that that is shameful, Tim Walz. The jazz-handed, high-kicking governor of Minnesota, who was literally, you know why the story goes that Kamala Harris picked him to be the vice presidential running mate? Do you know why? Are you ready for this? So he would appeal to men with his masculinity. That's not even a joke. Tim Walz is what the Democrats consider a masculine man. I don't think I've ever used jazz hands or high kicked, especially not recently. All right, we'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of breaking news and stimulating talk begins every hour, every afternoon on The Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Hey, Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk.
Charlie.
Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9.
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
And welcome back to the program. Glad to have you along with us on this Friday evening. Let's go to the WRD talk line. We'll talk to Jeff in North Georgia. How you doing, Jeff?
Hey, Charlie, I'm a Charlie dog.
All
Glad
right,
to talk
man.
to you.
Good for you. Thank you. I appreciate it, bud. What's up?
But if you don't think the government is involved in this drug trade, about 20 years ago, a friend of mine whose son was in the Coast Guard was in the Bahamas. They were waiting behind an island for a 2-ton load of Colombian cocaine coming. They knew it was on the boat.
Right.
About an hour before the boat got there, they got a call, and they had to go to an airport 20 miles away on another island. And guess what happened to the boat?
It got away.
Absolutely. You don't think that was a government call? That wasn't a military call. That was a government call.
Yeah. I tell you what, I would not bet you. Listen, I don't think our government's full of a bunch of Boy Scouts. I appreciate it, Jeff. Let's go to Bob in Greer. Bob, what's on your mind this afternoon?
Yeah, hi, Charlie. Thanks for
bud.
taking my call.
Yep.
I'm going to say some things that'll be hard for you to take, but
Okay.
Please bear with me. I'll
All right.
try to be quick. All the fake news from on this channel and from the Trump administration saying that the Bryant Cole, the pipe bomber, was black, when in reality he was not only white, he was ultra white. He was albino. He was a Christian. He was a member of the Klan. He also, the plans for the pipe bomb, he received in a seance as Hitler spoke from the other side
Right.
to him. So what do you think of that?
I think you're probably right. I think you could be an anchor on CNN, Bob. I think you got a great career ahead of you over there. Send in your resume, pal. I appreciate it. Yeah, Jake Tapper actually said that the pipe bomber, the alleged pipe bomber, was a white guy.
Ryan Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white man from.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to say that one more time. What was that, Jake Tapper?
30-year-old white man from.
A 30-year-old white man? Are you sure about that?
30-year-old white man from.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right. Now, like I said before, I've been on this planet for almost 62 years. And granted, I never graduated college with an ethnic studies degree. But I can tell. I can absolutely tell. That man is not Caucasian. Neither were his parents. Neither were his cousins. So I don't know what kind of games they're trying to pull over there at CNN, but there you go. Well, here's a bombshell for you. Do you know of all of that Somali crime that's going on in Minnesota? Do you know where 80% of it is happening? 80%? 80% of the Somali crime in Minnesota is happening in Ilhan Omar's district. Now, look, all right, listen, I know that shocks you. I know you just gasped audibly. I can't. Why? Charlie, I can't believe that 80% of the Somali crime in Minnesota is in her district. I just can't believe it, Charlie. She's such a good person. She never married her brother. I know that. But it is true. And things are looking pretty darn bad for old Ilhan Omar right now. Listen to this from Fox News.
Well, now investigators are tracking the web of fraud to other Minnesota Democrats, such as Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Many of the suspects linked to the scheme live in her district, including a restaurant owner who hosted events for her. He has since been convicted of stealing $12 million in COVID funds. Well, now
$12 million. And what we are hearing is that whistleblowers are confirming that her campaign funneled a massive amount of money to her husband's firm, while Somali-linked networks in Minneapolis ran one of the biggest COVID relief fraud schemes in history, hundreds of millions of dollars. Total fraud amount could be equaling up to $8 billion. She knew this was going on. She benefited from it. She covered for these people. This is absolute corruption on steroids. Absolutely. I can't wait until we get a good investigation into all of this. And some people start squealing. I'd be offering a few plea deals around Minneapolis right about now. Hey, you can either go to jail or just go back to Somalia. Hey, he's got a nice house here. What do you got in Somalia? Mud hut. Huh, okay. Well, you could either stay here in your nice house or go back to Somalia, or you can tell the truth about what happened. Start spilling. I think it's going to finally catch up to Ilhan Omar. At least I hope it is. Well, let me tell you something. If you know me, you know one thing. I know nothing about soccer. I've never played soccer. I've only been to one soccer game in my life. Know nothing about the sport. I don't know the rules. I don't know the positions. I don't know what the players are supposed to be doing other than kicking the ball back and forth to each other and trying to get it into a net. That is the depth of my knowledge as far as soccer is concerned. I also don't really like any sport where a score of 2 wins. It's just not exciting to me. But something happened today at FIFA. That's the Soccer Federation. Now, I'll also admit to you, I don't know what FIFA stands for. I just know it's soccer, right? Well, they had a big to-do because we got the World Cup coming up. I think it is the World Cup. Yeah, the 2026 World Cup. So they were doing the final draw for the seeding in the World Cup at the big FIFA event today, and President Trump was there. Well, everybody had a bunch of celebrities on stage, and, I think, a bunch of celebrities were on stage, and you reached into a bowl, like a fish bowl, and you pulled out a ball. You opened up the ball, and whatever country's name was in it, that was the next seed, okay? Well, President Trump was on stage today, and this happened.
President Trump, up to you. Don't forget to mingle, mix.
I think I know what this is going to be now.
Everything.
But let's see.
Are you sure? Are you sure this is the bowl? You can still change it if you want.
Does he know something that I don't know? Let's give it a shot. John.
Let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot. I agree. Okay.
This is shocking.
United States of America.
There you go. So,
excellent. Group D1.
There you go. So we are in group, what, B1? I don't know. I don't know anything about soccer. But also today, they awarded President Trump the very first FIFA Peace Prize. It was the very first, it was the inaugural FIFA Peace Prize. And let me tell you something. The folks in Europe are losing their minds over it. Because, a lot of those Europeans, they don't like Trump. And they were just losing their minds. These soccer fans are just going absolutely crazy because, and now some are even calling for the abolishing FIFA. Okay. All right. You guys keep on with that. Speaking of Europeans, Prince Harry took a jab at the U.S. on late night television. We'll tell you about it next. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Keeping Carolina conservative. It's the Charlie James Show.
News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas. Interact on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line.
800-905-0989. Text or call. One number does it all.
800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Joe Biden has signed a $10 million book deal for his presidential memoirs. $10 million. Oh, I can't read. Nobody's going to read this book. But I'm wondering what the title is going to be. And I've asked some folks online to send me some suggestions. And I'll ask you now, what do you think Joe Biden's book should be entitled? I think it should be, Come On, Man. Come on, man. And I think the very first sentence in that book ought to be one that he uttered. Let me see. And now my board is acting up again. Doggone it. Let's see. Here's what the first sentence in that book should be.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to foot.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Now, just in case you were thinking that was a one-off, just in case you thought he just stumbled over his words, he did it again today. Here's Joe Biden.
We just have to get up. As long as we keep the faith, summon hope, and get back up and remember who in the hell we are. We're the United States of America.
America. We're the United States of America. Oh, man. And this, thank you. Thank you, Lord, that man is not still the president of the United States. We'd be in such a disaster, ladies and gentlemen. It would be absolutely hideous. All right, so over on late night, I found this to be completely ironic because over on Stephen Colbert's show, you know Stephen Colbert, Charleston's own embarrassment, he had a guest on. It was Prince Harry from England. Listen to what he said.
I genuinely thought this was the audition for the Gingerbread Prince Saves Christmas in Nebraska.
What? No, I mean, that sounds like a fantastic movie, but you're an actual prince. Why would you want to be in one of those movies?
Well, you Americans are obsessed with Christmas movies, and you're clearly obsessed with royalty, so why not?
Hold on. Look, I wouldn't say we're obsessed with royalty.
Really? I heard you elected a king.
You elected a king. That came out of his mouth. The offspring of an actual now king is saying that we elected a king here. What Prince Harry ought to be doing is looking at his own country and watching its unbelievable demise under Keir Starmer. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with this. Well, I've just turned it on England. You didn't elect a prime minister. You elected a literal dictator in Keir Starmer. And that is not even a joke. Listen to what Keir Starmer has done. He has canceled mayoral elections. Canceled them. He has also canceled jury trials. So if you're arrested in England, you don't get a jury of your peers. You are tried and sentenced by one person, and that's the judge. That's it. And they are arresting people for freedom of speech. They arrested a man who came to the United States on vacation, went down to Florida, went to a gun range, took some pictures of him with a shotgun and an AR-15. He posted it on his LinkedIn page, and when he got back to England, they arrested him. Arrested him. He had to go to court, had to hire a lawyer, pay all of that money, had to pay court fees, had to pay all of that stuff, and then finally they came along and they said, well, okay, there's no real charges here. You see, the process is the punishment. What he had to go through to clear his name in England and stay out of jail cost him a tremendous amount of money, and that was the plan. Oh, and it gets worse than that. There was a Christian teacher in England who refused to use a student's they, them pronouns. Said, I'm not going to do it. I'm a Christian. I don't believe in all of that. I'm not going to use your they, them pronouns. They sentenced this man to prison. Are you ready for this? Indefinitely. So it's not like you're going to prison for 2 years or you're going to prison for 5 years. You're going to prison for however long we believe you should be in prison. That's what they're doing. Keir Starmer is an absolute tyrant. So how many other people have abolished jury trials? Well, let's see. Lenin, Mussolini, Hitler, Franco, Mao Zedong, Fidel Castro, Pol Pot, Idi Amin, Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, al-Assad, the Ayatollah Khomeini, Hugo Chavez, Maduro, and now Keir Starmer. So, Harry, while you're over here making jokes about us electing a king, you need to be looking at your country, wondering why you have a literal dictator. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Hey, it's Tara. I do the homework and give you the facts every morning starting at 6 on The Tara Show, only on News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Charlie Speaks. You listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
And welcome back to the program. Let's go to Wes in Greer on the WORD talk line. Wes, how are you?
Doing fine, Charlie. Hope you are.
I'm good. What's up, man?
I'm like you. I stay pretty plugged in, and we all know how bad England is, but they deserve it. I mean, this has been coming a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to point out to England that me and mine decided almost 300 years ago we'd had enough of that. So, until those people grow a backbone and get out there and, let it be known that they're not down for it. I know a lot of them are, but evidently not enough. But one of the things that shocked me is I was reading and I came across the TV police in Britain.
Yeah.
Okay? So they come around your business or your house and they peer through your windows and they look up in there. Let's say you got a buddy of yours that gave you a good hookup, to watch the football game or something.
Yeah.
And they peer through the window. And I think too, when you have a business, there's some things that you can't, whatever, but they will actually come into your house and seize your television. Okay? And I'm like, once you reach that point, you might not get it back.
Well, they don't even need to do that anymore. Now they have trucks that drive around and they can detect the RF signal from your television and they will check to see if you have paid your television tax. And if you have not, you will go to jail. You'll get a huge fine and go to jail.
Well, I just thank God what little we got here. But, every day I get up, Charlie, Trump can't be president, but, 3 more years.
Yeah.
That's this whole game plan. You know what? I heard the guy this morning, Joey Hudson, talking about, the Republicans really have to work on this Obamacare, subsidy. I would say that most of the Republicans that hate Trump would love to not do it, just simply to anger everybody. And of course, Trump will.
But wait a minute, let me ask you something. Why do we have to do something about it?
Well, I kind of agreed with what Joey said. Whether we like it or not, that will be a mallet. And the bipartisan group right now is trying to just extend it. Okay.
So in other words, we are just going to go back and cave in to what the Democrats wanted during the shutdown anyway.
Well, Charlie, I do think we're in a tough spot right now.
But would we be in a tough spot if we would just do away with the filibuster and get Donald Trump's initiatives passed?
No, we wouldn't.
Right.
But I sort of agreed with the way Joey laid that out this morning, that this is right now with everything else we're trying to get accomplished. If we can't carry the House and the Senate, along with impeachment and every other crazy thing on earth, I do believe we need to just kind of keep our heads around. It's vital that we keep control and that Trump can try to get done. What he's got with these last 3.
But again, you got to go back. I mean, this is what we've been fighting against. This is what we fought against with Boehner. This is what we fought against with all of these other speakers of the House. I mean, we should not just go along to get along, and that's exactly what that would be.
I agree. I do agree with that, Charlie. But I mean, I don't know, man. I sort of, as he played it out, I was like you. I was a little interested in his angle, okay? But I have to admit that. I mean, I have to admit that whether I know on principle, but there's millions of Republicans, okay, that have it. And I agree with Joey. If their bills triple in the middle of all this economic problems we have, they are going to be angry, whether it's righteous or not.
And they should be blaming the Democrats for it.
I think it's so close. I think it's so close with these lunatics. I mean, every day, Charlie, I'm amazed that election in Tennessee. I almost can't believe it. I still think it's fraud. I don't meet these people in my life, okay? I don't go to Tennessee. I mean, I go to Tennessee a lot. I don't meet these people up there. I almost don't
Well, let me-
believe
let
it,
me-
and I'm dumbfounded.
That-
The guy that threatened to kill people.
But
in-
that
in,
race,
in-
that race in Tennessee was so close because 105,000 Republicans did not vote.
Right. I'm taking all of that into account. Right. You take our side won't get up, and then the midterms, and then you think that the side that turns out just to hate Trump, just to oppose everything Trump does. I mean, look at the Democrats now. They wreck the economy. Biden tells everybody, "I can't wait to be elected. I'm gonna shut down all expiration." You know, I'm standing there with liberal friends of mine going like, what, "Are y'all crazy?" He wrecks the economy, does nothing. Trump's been president for a year. He's done a million things. He's trying as hard as he can, and now the buffoons who didn't do a damn thing for 4 years are standing up now and saying, "Vote for us. We're going to fix the economy that we wrecked and kept wrecked for 4 years."
All right, Wes, I appreciate it. But I just do not agree with going along and getting along. Obamacare was designed to fail. That is it. It was the Democrats that put the deadline on the Obamacare subsidies. These subsidies were only supposed to be put in place during COVID, and now they want to make them permanent. And my gut feeling tells me that once again, the GOP is going to roll over and play dead. Want to go to Larry in Greenville and talk about England. How you doing, Larry?
Good afternoon, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
You think England's in bad shape? I think that by Trump upsetting the apple cart and winning the election this time, I think he's the only thing that saved us from doing it at the same time England did.
You might
be
right.
It's all been coordinated ever since George Bush was in office. George number one.
Yeah, you might be
He was
absolutely
talking
right.
about the New World Order.
That's right. That's right. I appreciate it, Larry. I want you to listen to what Ron DeSantis said on Fox News this morning.
Couple things. One, in an off-year midterm, the party in power's voters tend to be more complacent. Party out of power, they get upset, right? That's just the nature of midterms. We saw it when Obama was in and Republicans. So that dynamic is always going to be there. Then I think Republicans have an issue that Donald Trump has created a big pool of voters, but some of them are unique to him, right? So they will go vote for Trump, and they'll vote for all the Republicans when Trump's on the ballot. But if he's not on the ballot, some of them don't vote. Now, you can overcome that. We did it in Florida in 2022. You know, we had a state that was a purple state, 1-point state. We won by 1.5 million votes, 20 points, the biggest Republican victory ever. But we did that based on results and substance. We did it by flying under a banner of bold colors, not pale pastels. We were sticking it to the left every single day and delivering big victories. So it can be done, but I think it's like you can't go on 2024 and say, oh, well, we Republicans won this district by 10 points, so therefore we're going to win it, because President Trump is the reason you won it by 10
What do you
points.
say? What is the message? Because the inflation is still high. So far, groceries are a little bit up, even though they're up only 2%, inflation goes down. What would, if I said right now, give a speech to voters who are on the fence about who they should vote for, what should be the bullet points?
I think it's...
Well, he goes on to say, but what are the bullet points? And as long as nothing is going on in Congress, as long as they are doing literally nothing, and I'll tell you again, this Congress has sent fewer bills to the president's desk than any other Congress in the past 70 years. We've got tons of bills in the Senate that are sitting there doing nothing. If you do not do away with the filibuster and start getting some of President Trump's initiatives passed, forget the midterms. Forget it. That's gone. And you can forget 2028 as well. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Grit, truth, and a whole lot of common sense. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Let your fingers do the talking.
Text the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line at 800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, let's go to Jeff in Taylor's on the WORD talk line. Jeff, welcome.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey, bud.
We don't have to do away with the filibuster, and I'll tell you why I say that.
Okay.
Those clowns in the Senate have made it to where all they have to do is say that I filibuster. They don't have to stand up and take the floor like they used to, like you're supposed to. I remember when I was a kid, Strom Thurmond stood up there for about a day or two reading them the Gettysburg Address until they gave in, and they've made it so convenient for themselves that they don't even have to get up and take the floor if they're going to filibuster, and that's wrong. That should never have been allowed. Them change the rules that the founders set for that. And wait a minute.
Let's first of all, Jeff, we've got to do away with this thought that the filibuster was in any of our founding documents. The Constitution has nothing to do with the filibuster. It's not in there.
Well, it's ridiculous just that if they're so opposed to something that they don't have to stand up and oppose it. They just say, "Well, I oppose it." That's just like saying, "Well, Charlie, I didn't like where you parked your car, and I could close the radio station down." I mean, it's crazy. It
is crazy.
Everything so convenient for themselves.
So, in other words, what you're saying is do away with the filibuster.
Well, do away with it, or if you go to filibuster, you got to stand up there in front of the Senate and make the rest of them sit there and listen to your nonsense if you're gonna filibuster. And
it seems like a lot when you could just do away with the filibuster. I appreciate it. I want to go to Jason in Lawrence. Jason, what do you think Joe Biden's book title ought to be?
Hey, Charlie, happy holidays.
Yes, sir. You too. What's up?
So I would think if I was writing that book or whatnot, me being a U.S. citizen, I think the title should be "No Price Gouging During COVID, asterisk, afterwards, free for all, donate to my campaign."
Yeah, that'd be a long title, but absolutely appropriate. I appreciate it. Well, the Senate has done something. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Look what the Senate did. They changed the rules. The Senate changed the rules on something. Yeah, they did that today. The Senate Republicans have just filed to confirm 97 Trump nominees in bulk to fast-track them around Schumer's roadblocks. What? No, that's impossible. You can't just wait a doggone. Wait a minute. Hold on. What's going to happen when the Democrats get back in power? Are they going to be able to do the same thing? Well, I'm surprised they did that. I'm shocked. Executive resolution. Here we go. Reading it from authorized to en bloc consideration in executive session of certain nominations of the executive calendar. Resolved that it shall be, in order to move to proceed to the block consideration of the following nominations in executive calendar number 166, blah, 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 and they go along to list all the people that they were nominated. I don't get. You can change that rule. You can change that rule on a Friday. Get it done. Filibuster, actually do some other good things for this country? Nope, can't do that. Let's go to D in Thomasy. D, what do you think?
Hey, Charlie, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good. What's up, man?
Listen, I agree with you completely. We need to do away with the filibuster because, as you say, that will be the first thing if they come into power that will be done away with.
Yeah.
And all this legislation in Congress that would be so beneficial to the integrity of the voting process. So many bills that are contingent on doing away with the filibuster could be passed, and not only would that be beneficial to our prospects of the midterm elections,
Yeah.
but the 28 elections.
Yeah, I agree. Because right now, if
And
they've got
possibly-
nothing,
and possibly beyond.
What are their campaign ads going to say in the midterms? What are they going to say?
Exactly.
They're going to say there's nothing. They've done nothing. I appreciate it, D. The only substantive legislation that was passed was the big, beautiful bill. That was it. That was absolutely it. Nothing else there. I mean, we've got what else have we got? We got the no rogue judges bill. We got the bill that would ban mail out voting. We've got bills that would make our elections safer and more secure. I don't think some of these Democrats want that to happen. Let's go to Brian in Gaffney. Brian, welcome.
Hey, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
As far as what you were just talking about with the filibuster, getting rid of the filibuster, Democrats had the chance to get rid of it while Biden was in, and they didn't.
Well,
Who's to say they would if they would win after Trump?
Well, I'm to say that because the only two people that blocked that bill or that vote was Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, and they're not in the Senate anymore.
All right, and another thing, Republicans, if for the midterm winning next year, we don't need Republicans winning if they're Republicans like Lindsey Graham. We need more Republicans like Thomas Massey and MTG, Rand Paul. We need those kind of Republicans to win.
Really?
We don't need any more Lindsey Grahams.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lindsey Graham. Not so sure about the old Rand Paul MTG thing. I mean, she turned tail and ran instead of staying and putting up a fight. Let's go to Janice in Gastonia. Janet, let me see if I can get her. There you go, Janice. Welcome.
Hi, Charlie.
Hey, bud.
I thought I'd call in with a name for your Biden book.
All right.
Forget Me Not. Where am I at?
I think that would be perfect. That would be absolutely perfect. Who, what, when, where? Yeah, you're right. But folks, I'm telling you, they are going to have to redistrict the hell out of this country in order to have any hopes whatsoever of winning in the midterms. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if you can do that much redistricting. I really don't. We just had Texas. That was upheld by the Supreme Court. That gives them 5 seats. We've got the Republican-controlled Florida House. They held a meeting to redistrict. That could give us 5 seats. Indiana, that redistricting bill passed the House. That could be 2 seats. They keep talking about doing it here in South Carolina. We'll see if that ever comes to fruition. But they're going to have to do that all over America if they've got any hopes whatsoever of winning in the midterms. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of non-stop breaking news and stimulating talk jumpstarts every hour on the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9
WORD,
the voice of the Carolinas.
Hey, Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk.
Charlie.
Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9.
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, here we are, 6 o'clock hour on a Friday evening. We hear that Asheville just hired a new city manager. I hope this one is better than the last one, although I highly doubt it, right? I mean, we know Asheville. We can read them like a book, and they've got some trouble out there right now. The city of Asheville, it has been determined that they have to pay 5 white residents who filed a federal lawsuit claiming that they were racially discriminated against when they were rejected from a volunteer board that advises the city on equity. That's according to a news release from the Western North Carolina group. WNC Citizens for Equality said the Human Relations Commission of Asheville posted application forms indicating that, are you ready for this? White persons were automatically excluded from serving unless they could produce or prove a plus factor. Now, you might be wondering what a plus factor is. Well, a plus factor would mean you were white and gay. You were white and transgender. Or you were white and living in public housing. Now, non-white applicants, they didn't have to demonstrate any plus factors. The 5 residents filed the lawsuit in September of 2023. Now, what makes this is kind of weird because the Western North Carolina Citizens for Equality are the ones that were complaining about this, and I just wonder how liberal they are, probably extremely, since the word equality is in their name. The 5 residents filed the lawsuit in September of 2023, and the city eliminated race-based membership preferences after 2 years of litigation in August of this year. One of the denied Buncombe County residents had served as Asheville's Director of Risk Management for 30 years. You would imagine that would be a good qualifier there. Asheville Mayor Esther Mannheimer acknowledged that the city needed to make changes or face litigation. That, according to WNC Citizens for Equality news release, U.S. Judge Martin Reidinger in the U.S. District Court of the Western District of North Carolina on Tuesday ordered the city to pay a whopping $81,000 for the plaintiff's legal fees. So, but again, I mean, that just proves my point time and time again that the liberals in this country are the most racist people out there. Let's say this wasn't a board, and this was a government board, by the way, for the city of Asheville. But let's say it wasn't. Let's say it was for a new apartment complex. It's a new apartment complex, and you said, no. If you're white and you're not gay, you can't have an apartment here. If you're white and not trans, you can't have an apartment here. Not only would that be unethical, it would be illegal. And this was illegal as well. But what is actually going to happen to the people that did this? Well, the answer to that, you obviously know, nothing is going to happen to them. Now, while they may have removed it from their website, they haven't removed it from their brains and they haven't removed it from their hearts. They're still going to go by those policies, even though they're not written down. See, that's what's so dangerous about liberals. That's why I have some questions when we have some people that endorse a Democrat, so-called Republicans that endorse a Democrat for a so-called nonpartisan race. I have real issues with that. I have never endorsed a Democrat. I have never voted for a Democrat, and I will promise you I never will. But they were okay with it. I don't understand the way people think. I really don't. But the liberals are the most racist among us. And now they're targeting white people, and it's not going to work out well for them. Asheville is gone. Why anybody would move there, why anybody would live there is absolutely beyond me. Oh, sure, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. But the liberals moving into that place have absolutely ruined it. Same thing going on in Charleston right now. And we could have that same thing. We're seeing evidence of that same thing happening right here. Look, the city of Greenville's already gone. That's a Democrat stronghold now. Greenville County could be the last bastion in Greenville of any sort of conservatism. You folks in Spartanburg, you got to get it together. Anderson, you got to get it at Pickens, all of y'all. We got way too many of the minority making decisions because Republicans simply will not get up and vote. I will never understand that. I really don't. I had somebody ask me the other night if I thought voting was a cult. That was such a ridiculous question, I didn't even know how to respond. And when you look at that race in Tennessee, it is not that Afton Bain received that many votes. It was that Republicans just chose to stay home. What do we have to do to tell Republicans, hey, guess what? Even if Donald Trump is not on the ballot, you still need to get out and vote. Because like Ron DeSantis said, there are some Republicans out there, some voters out there that are completely unique to Donald Trump. He's like the only person they'll vote for, and they'll show up, they'll vote for him, they'll vote down ballot Republican. But if he's not on the ballot, they don't show up. He won 312 electoral votes. He won the popular vote. And we've got a close race in a district that was plus 22 for Donald Trump. That should never happen. That's why I say. That's why when people ask me, Charlie, why do you think we ought to get rid of the filibuster? Because right now, and I'll say it for the 1,000th time, there is no story to tell for these Republicans in the midterm. What are they going to put on their campaign signs? What are they going to put in their ads? I'll tell you what they're going to put on their ads. We support President Trump in this and that, and we support President Trump on this, that, and the other thing, and we stood behind Trump, just like you hear the ads for Lindsey Graham. The border and yada, yada, yada. But other than Trump, they've got nothing to run on. Absolutely nothing. And that should scare the hell out of them. But what I'm afraid it's not going to do is motivate them to actually get out there and do something. Another thing that I have found interesting about the left is they will look for any reason whatsoever except for God. I'll tell you about that next. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
You've stepped into the Upstate Talk Octagon. A few left jabs and a lot of right uppercuts. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
you.
I
Thank
never
you.
was
Yes, ma'am,
saved.
we
I
got the
love
paper.
you.
Text or call. One number does it all.
800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Get on up. Welcome back to the program. Let me tell you how crazy things are. In Portland, they just acquitted a man for a stabbing. The stabber was a black man. The stabbee was a white guy. They acquitted the black man for the stabbing because the white guy used racial slurs. All right? However, this has a bit of a unique twist to it. You see, the white guy did not use the racial slurs until after he was stabbed. After he was stabbed. And because he uttered these racial slurs after he was stabbed, the jury agreed that it was self-defense. The blows, let me tell you something. If you get stabbed, you should not be held accountable for anything that you say. That is one of those, I mean, my goodness. I've said some pretty bad words after I had a paper cut. I couldn't imagine being stabbed, what would come out of my mouth. So they acquitted the guy because the victim uttered a racial slur after he was stabbed. That's crazy. That is literally nuts. Boy, I tell you what, we are, ooh. You couldn't get me to go out west, especially the Northwest. You could not. No, there's nothing there for me. Absolutely nothing. Why people move there? Well, I don't know. I just, but that's the world we live in. And I'll give you another example. Are you ready for this? There is a professor at Ball State University. His name is, hold on. Nathaniel Snow. Nathaniel Snow is an assistant teaching professor of economics at Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana. ICE came in and announced the arrest as part of the DHS worst of the worst. The guy's name was Rafael Alberto Cadena Sosa, an illegal alien from Mexico who participated in a sex trafficking ring in Miami, Florida. He was arrested in San Pedro, California. So members of this guy's family would recruit young women, they would groom them, and then they would force them into prostitution. Well, Ball State University professor Nathaniel Snow did not like the fact that he was arrested. Listen to what he said. He said, how many innocent people's lives were affected by the surveillance and the force necessary to catch this guy? Was it worth it? Yeah, I would say it was worth it. If this guy and his family were grooming young women and forcing them into the sex trade, yeah, I would say it was worth it, Professor Nathaniel Snow, you vermin. I don't even, how do people, was it worth all of that? I mean, all he was doing was forcing young women into prostitution. I mean, my gosh, did they have to surveil him the way they did? Yeah. I did. Again, you guys make it make sense to me. You make it make sense to me. Right? Charlie, the guy who stabbed him knew he would use a slur if he stabbed him before it happened. He could just tell by looking at him. I could just tell. I could just tell that guy was going to say something. So, but please make it make sense, because nothing in the world makes sense right now. So now in New Orleans, they've got ICE down there. And I want you to listen to this. You want to talk about some great journalism at WWL, 4WWL in New Orleans. They were interviewing a guy, and listen to what they said, if I could get my board to work. There we go. Here we go.
We don't have an immigrant crime problem in New Orleans.
I'm sorry, what did you just say? You don't have an immigrant crime problem in New Orleans? Oh, okay.
We don't have an immigrant crime problem in New Orleans. We have hardworking, family-oriented immigrants.
No, I would say that Kenner's police chief would disagree with you on that. He, has been very outspoken about the fact that he feels like the immigrant community in Kenner is causing him a big problem in terms of policing. So how does that jive with what you just said?
The Kenner sheriff is openly racist. I disagree with him. I think the Honduran community and the Hispanic community in Kenner is an excellent, wonderful, law-abiding community, and he's simply making that up.
All right. I'm sorry, I was just hearing from our producer right now. So right now we are talking about, and I just want to clarify something that, again, I understand that this can be a very political situation. Yes. And we want to make sure that we get the accurate information that is out there.
We don't have.
But there was no pushback. Nobody on that panel said, "How is he? How is the? Are you actually accusing the police chief of being racist? What has he done that was racist?" No pushback whatsoever. But they did try to cover their butt. Well, we know this is an ongoing. This is a very political situation. Well, in New Orleans, the ICE is actually getting a pretty big welcome from the community in New Orleans because these people are sick and tired of what's going on in their community. Border Patrol Commander Bovino is getting a huge praise from African-American locals in New Orleans for all of his work. Because you see, the mainstream media, no matter how much propaganda they put out there, in a lot of places this isn't working anymore. Because they have seen the lies that have been told by them. And the lies are plentiful. In fact, in Louisiana, their Attorney General, let's go to Ann Kirkpatrick. She's the superintendent of the New Orleans Police Department. She talked about the ICE raids.
Our confirmation from the judge that we are formally out of the consent decree, but along the way, I have preferred to use the term that we've graduated. We have taken back our own ownership of our agency. To be in the country undocumented is civil issue. We will not enforce civil law. And so our support is to make sure they're not going to get hurt and our community is not in danger.
Well, you want to talk about somebody that does not know the law. Being in this country illegally, is a federal offense. And they need to be helping. Well, the Attorney General of the state of Louisiana, Liz Murrill, has sent a letter to the superintendent of the New Orleans Police, Ann Kirkpatrick, instructing her to immediately direct New Orleans Police Department officers and staff to fully cooperate with ICE and Border Patrol. Now, remember, Kirkpatrick was the same one that said she was just making up her own rules. This is a civil matter. They want to enforce civil law. Well, the Attorney General has said, oh, yeah, you will. As you know, on December 1st, 2025, U.S. Customs and Customs Enforcement and U.S. Customs and Border Patrol began immigrating enforcement operations in New Orleans. I write to caution that the New Orleans Police Department policies appear to conflict with current state law and also may be interpreted as sanctuary policies specifically designed and implemented to frustrate, hinder, and prevent cooperation and assistance to ICE, and as it fulfills a critical immigration enforcement mission in New Orleans. According to Chapter 41, blah, 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 of the NOPD Operations Manual, which has been in effect since 2016, New Orleans Police Department officers are prohibited from assisting or cooperating with federal immigration agencies except in 3 narrow circumstances. You shall not engage in, assist, or support immigration enforcement except in response to an articulated direct threat of life to public services. And they go on to basically debunk everything that Kirkpatrick said. So a lot of people in New Orleans very happy to see ICE. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
giving the left heartburn. Afternoons 3 to 7. Dum-ta-dum-dum. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9.
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Claudia.
Charlie Speaks. You listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Looking forward to tomorrow when my Bulldogs take on Alabama for the SEC championship. If Georgia plays like they played versus Texas, and Alabama plays the way they played against Auburn, I think we got a shot at this thing, man. I'm not discounting my Bulldogs on this. They've been surprising me all year long, but I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised they got this far. All right, WRD talk line 800-9050-989. That's also the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line number. Well, there's a recent BBC headline out there, and I want you to listen to this. You know what? Yeah, I want you to listen to this. Scientists are now seriously asking if humans were seeded by aliens. Here's why. So this writer, Kim Ham, says, now, I don't even need to read the article to know the ultimate reason why: evolution. If life evolved here, it must have evolved somewhere elsewhere, given how large and supposedly old our universe is. But they go on to say, panspermia is the idea that life began in outer space, arriving on Earth either by random chance, like an asteroid, or by design. And we're not talking about a design by God. We're talking about intelligent aliens. This idea is supposedly bolstered by an analysis of asteroid samples, which suggests that some of the building blocks of life are present in the asteroids, raising the prospect that those same building blocks, and perhaps even life itself, could have been delivered to Earth. Now, let's assume, Ham says, that analysis of the asteroid samples is accurate, and there really were the building blocks of life on long-ago asteroids. And it just happened to crash into Earth without destroying those amino acids. Does that give evolutionists an origin of life? No, not at all. You see, life requires a language system. Life is not just a few amino acids arranged in the right order to make a protein. That gets you absolutely nowhere. Life requires information, and information never arises by itself. Researchers even admit this, saying that creating life has got to be harder than just mixing the chemicals together. Otherwise, life would have formed on the asteroid Bennu. Bennu is a pantry full of ingredients, but it wasn't quite the right condition to make a cake. On Earth, we have cake, and we don't know why, the scientists say. The problem of the complexity of life and the increasingly short time frame given for life to have evolved on our planet is why evolutionists are now appealing to panspermia. It places the origin of life far away where we can't study it, and it gives us a few extra billion years for it to have evolved. It is nothing but wishful thinking and a fairy tale to try to explain away the obvious: life was created. But later, wait a minute, let's go back and just take a couple of these things. First of all, the scientists say that everything was created during the Big Bang, right? All of a sudden, some stuff went bang, right? But here's the thing, though. What went bang? Something had to go bang. And then if something went bang, where did that something come from, and what caused it to go bang? Now, the best answer that science has is I don't know. We don't know. We don't know what started. And let me just put this in there too. If everything went bang, then how are some things that went bang older than other things that went bang? Anybody think about that? How can we have an ancient asteroid, if everything went bang at the same time, how can we have an asteroid that is older than Earth? Anybody think about that? You see, all of this stuff, I don't have enough faith to be an alien, to be an atheist. I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. That requires an unbelievable amount of faith. I mean, wouldn't it? To buy into all the BS that they spew out there about the creation, I mean, that takes, oh boy, you want to talk about some faith in their so-called science. That takes a lot. We all know what happened. Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created. Period. That's all you need to know about how everything happened. So, I mean, it's just, but they would rather believe. Now, think about this. They would rather believe that a ancient asteroid traveled all through space from the deepest recesses of space, impacted with Earth, and life came from that, than to just believe that the Almighty God created it in an instant. Yeah, I don't have that much faith. I want to go to Richard in Dallas and talk to him. Richard, welcome.
Hey, Charlie, how you are?
Hey, bud, what's going on?
Man, listen, this is how I think about it. What's that? I-3 Atlas, where's it at?
3i Atlas, where is it? I don't even know anymore.
Well, maybe just spewing out.
Richard, doggone it, you're breaking up, and I can't hear what you're saying, but I appreciate your call. No, I don't know. That 3i Atlas thing, I have no idea. I've heard so much about that. It was supposed to be a big deal, then it was kind of like no deal, and every now and then you hear about stuff like that, but we got nothing to worry about with that. All right, WRD Talk Line, 800-9050-989. That's also the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line. If you would ever like to email me, I love getting your emails. My email address is charlie@989word.com. That's charlie@989word.com. I love to get your emails. I tell you what, we'll take a quick break and be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of breaking news and stimulating talk begins every hour, every afternoon on The Charlie James Show.
News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas. Tap and type your message on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line.
800-905-0989. This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
So I think it was on night before last, somebody sent me a text that asked me if I thought voting was a cult. We've got Larry in Cleveland County. Maybe he can clear it up for us. Larry, welcome.
Yes, sir. First of all, Charlie, I want to say thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
And I want to say on behalf of us and the world, there is only one God.
I
only
agree.
one God.
Yep.
And I'm wondering about this hoax thing. Where does this come from? It's your responsibility as a U.S. citizen to vote and get off the couch and do so, or you can't complain, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I even had somebody a few minutes ago text me and say, and here's a weird thing, because when you listen to people talk like this, you go, don't you hear what you're saying? They said, voting will not help us because the government will blah, 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 blah.
Exactly right. And that's how it's going to turn out. If you sit on the couch and Democrats take over,
Yeah.
I won't have the privilege of talking to you because they'll shut it all down.
You are right about that. You are absolutely right about it, Larry.
And we need to get off the couch and start being Americans and start saying, well, he'll do it, or I'll wait for him to do it. Get off your butt, get out there and do your job as an American citizen.
Exactly. I appreciate it, Larry. Thank you. People died. People were riddled with bullets. People were blown up by bombs. People were burned. People were stabbed to death so that we could have the right to vote, and it's just too inconvenient? No. That doesn't wash with me. So the texter said, and this is really what gets me, they said, voting will not save us because the government will blah, blah, blah. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on. That's why it's even more important to vote. Because the government is supposed to be we the people. And if we don't like the way that our government, which is not an almighty, all-powerful entity, if we don't like the way our government is operating, then it is up to us to go in and change it. And if the government makes it in some way, where we can't go in and change it, then we need to do all of those things that are necessary to change that form of government. That's what Jefferson said. But that'll have to be up to us. But the first thing that we need to do is make sure that we get out and vote. But people will always ask me, they'll say, Charlie, when are they gonna do this? When are they gonna do that? When are those people in Columbia go? Well, first of all, they're probably not going to do what you want them to do. So go out, go to the polls, show up en masse, coming up in June in the primaries, and get their butts out. That's the easiest way. Get their butts out of there. If you don't like what Micah Caskey is doing, I tell you what, find his opponent, send that opponent a check. If you don't like what Merle Smith is doing, get him out of there. If you don't like what Mike Johnson is doing, well, boot him. Get those people unelected. But that's our role in this government. We were never meant to just elect a government and to just sit back and let them go. It was always on us to make sure that they're doing their jobs. Election day, inauguration day, those are your first day on the job, making sure that those people are doing exactly what they said they were going to do. That's why I believe every single vote should be a roll call vote. Every single one, because I want to know exactly how my representative is voting. Every single time. To make sure they're doing the job that I wanted them to do. I never vote for somebody to be reelected. And let me explain that. When I send you to Washington, if you're in the Senate, let's see what you do in 6 years. If you go in the House, let's see what you do in 2 years. If you're the president, let's see what you do in 4. And if I don't like the job that you are doing, I am not going to vote for you again. That's the way you clean house. And when we find out that these people are corrupt, we certainly need to turn our backs on them. The FBI this morning raided a home of a high-ranking DEA official under Barack Obama and charged him for conspiring to launder millions of dollars for a Mexican drug cartel. What? Yeah. You wait a minute. A Democrat laundering money for a drug cartel? Yep. The feds charged former DEA Deputy Chief of the Office of Financial Operations, Paul Campo, and a friend, Robert Cincy, for conspiring to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization. Paul Campo and Robert Cincy were charged with narco-terrorism, terrorism, narcotics distribution, and money laundering charges. Campo and Cincy were arrested yesterday afternoon, actually, in New York, that according to the DOJ. Campo and Cincy, remember, under Obama, agreed to launder $12 million and participate in narcotics trafficking for the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. Paul Campo worked for the DEA for approximately 25 years as a special agent in New York and eventually rising to become a high-level DEA official, specifically the deputy chief of the Office of Financial Operation. Campo retired from the DEA on or about January of 2016. Robert Cincy began meeting with a confidential source working at the direction of law enforcement who was posing as a member of one of these cartels and said that I got a friend that's going to help you out, and now they've both been arrested. Man, I tell you what, I can't understand why these Democrats don't want all of this, why they don't want President Trump doing something about these drug cartels and their money coming in. It might be because a lot of them are on the take. That's why they don't want them looking into what's going on in Minneapolis. That's why they kind of dropped that whole Jeffrey Epstein thing pretty darn quickly. Because you're finding out just how corrupt they are. It's time to clean house, but we're the only ones that can do it. We're the only ones that can do it. And depending on Trump is not going to win you elections forever. In fact, this midterm will probably be your last chance to get a meaningful endorsement from President Trump that might have anything to do with your election whatsoever. So it's up to us. Again, last non-presidential primary, we had 13.5% voter turnout in South Carolina. 13.5%. If you want change, that's not going to get it. I really don't understand what it takes to get people out there to go vote, but the whole voting is not going to save us. Well, I got an idea. Let's try it first. Let's try it the same way we tried it back in November when we showed up and voted for President Trump. All right, guys, I want you to have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Have a fantastic weekend. We will see you right back here on Monday. And boy, I tell you what, it'll be ever more closer to Christmas. Hope you're getting that shopping done. I know I'm going to be doing some this weekend. We've enjoyed you this afternoon and this evening. Y'all have a lovely evening. As always, God bless. Buckle up. Bye, y'all.